Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of ITSNEEDED, the podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy, Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the one and only light-skinned persuasion, brother from another mother, Mr. AJ. What's going on, bro?
Not much, man. You might have to come up with a new nickname for me, though, because I'm not so light-skinned right now. I just came back from Spain, and the sun is real out there. Like I think the sun is actually on top of Spain, and we're just getting, like, small parts everywhere else in the world.
Hey, but that was a low-key flex on us right now, though. Like, you know, hey, Billy, I think he just tried to flex on us and say, yeah, I went to Spain. You know, that was a low-key flex.
No.
It was like, hey, yeah,
No.
I want the world to know that I've just been traveling to Spain, bro. I traveled the world. You know, knowing me,
Europe
I
trip,
never even been on no airplane, and he over here just flexing on me right now.
Oh, my goodness. Listen to him. You've been on an airplane. Stop lying.
Hey, bro, you know, if you want to consider, you know, my son's airplane, bro. I ain't the little play one that I bought from Target, bro. You know, I've sat in that a couple times.
Listen to him. Look, you don't got to beat my ears up, man.
Oh,
you the world traveler.
Yeah, right, bro. Hey, how was Spain, though?
Man, Spain was dope. Like, first off, there was like record-breaking heat there, like while we were there. So like in Paris, in Spain, and like Scotland, like that whole area had record-breaking heat. So it was hot, man. Like it was like well over 100 degrees. And it's just like a different type of heat, man. It's dry. There's not really like AC. And we stayed in Madrid. There are like window units, but they don't really do nothing, man. So, and another thing about Europe is you walk everywhere. Like everywhere you go, you walk. So like combine that with the heat, and it's just a combination for a lot of sweat. But it was cool, man. It was really cool. Like,
there's like no cars?
There's a ton of cars. Like Madrid is like New York, but like way cleaner. No offense to anybody staying in New York.
Hey, man,
it is what it is. Y'all know what it is. New York got giant rats,
man.
man.
Watch how you talk, because we got a lot of our large following comes from New York. Sorry, New Yorkers. Hey, he didn't mean that.
Hey, New Yorkers, y'all know what it is, man. Y'all got life-size rats, man. Like y'all got human-sized rats in New York. Y'all know what's up.
Hey,
right?
That's where the whole concept of the Ninja Turtles came from New York, bro. With my man.
Literally. Yeah, you'll never see a cat-sized rat anywhere else except New York. But hey, it is what it is.
Oh,
Millions
man.
of people live there. But now there's a lot of cars, but it's just so condensed and everything's like on top of each other. You just walk everywhere. And that's what you see. You just see a ton of people on scooters or bikes or just walking. So we did that. We did Barcelona. We did Skadovia. I'm going to mess that up. Skadovia, something. There's like a castle there. We toured.
Hey, Barcelona,
cool.
Is that where they do the running with the bulls?
I think that might be in Madrid where they do that.
That is in Spain, though, right?
Madrid. It is in Spain, and we had just missed it. Like it was there like the week or maybe 2 weeks prior.
Yeah, I know, because
to when we were there.
The great social media, bro. I was watching people get, what is it called, gnarled or whatever it's called, like where the bulls be like running into them, bro. They was on. I was like, what are y'all thinking?
I'd have recorded it all in selfie mode so they could see my reaction as I'm seeing it live. Like, oh snap! There's a lot to see out there, though, man. Like we did a lot. We went to I'm gonna mess the name of the church up, but it's the real famous church out there in Barcelona, and it was one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. Like when we walked through the front doors, we were doing an audio tour, so there's like this thing in your ear you're listening to. I literally almost burst out into tears. Like I had to hold it back, and then afterwards, like immediately afterwards, I said something to Shelby. And I was like, babe, I almost burst into tears. And she got tears in her eyes. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is something next level. So that, like, if you go to Barcelona, if you go to Spain.
What would you say was so powerful about that? Like, was it something that's just hard to describe, like that you felt like was from the spirit, or you just like...
Yeah, it's a combination. Like, when you see it, you're in awe. I've seen pictures online of it before, and you're like, oh, that's dope. But when you see it in person and you realize like how massive it is and how far out you could see it, it really takes you back. And then when you get up close and you start to see all the details, it's almost too much to take in. So you're just kind of looking at it like, oh, is that Jesus on the cross? Or are those the disciples? Is that baby Jesus? Or there's just a lot. There's like numbers, and there's like birds and doves. There's like a tree on top, and there's like colored glass everywhere. And you're just like, man, this is a lot to take in. But the audio tour actually breaks down like, hey, if you look at the tower, if you look at the church, take a step back. There's 3 sections. There's 3 different entrances. The left is for this. The center is for Jesus. The right is for this.
Wow.
And if you look above, I mean, dude, it's insane the amount of detail. And then they walk you through it, right? Like they tell you everything that's going on the outside, and then they go take a breath and walk inside. And when you walk inside, it's astonishing, man. Like it's just crazy what God is doing there. Like indescribable. Like,
now
like
let me
the
ask you
spirit is
this.
there.
Is it because I'm assuming that church has been there for Lord knows how long, right?
Well, it's still under construction. That's the crazy part about it. It's not set to be finished until, man, I'm gonna mess this up. I want to say 2025 or 2028, and that's 100 years after. I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna mess the details up, but yeah, it's still under construction.
So my point is that I'm assuming they start building that when we didn't have the technology that we have now to build something like that.
Yes,
of
bro.
that scale.
And you can't even wrap your mind around like how something like that is possible. I mean, everything in that church is down to the detail, so much so that the center tower is what's under construction right now, and it's going to be the tallest tower. There's going to be a cross on top of it, so you can see it from pretty much anywhere, right? And they put so much thought into this that it's a couple inches shorter than the highest mountain in Spain, because the architect said that no man should ever be able to outdo what God has created. It's just like, man, like y'all put so much thought into this. Like, it's mind blowing. You have to go and experience it, man. Because like you can read up on it online and you can see the pictures, but when you're there, like it literally takes your breath away. Well, and I've had very few moments in my life where I've like been in awe of something, and that was definitely number one.
Well, one day when the Tillmans get on the Johnsons' level, maybe we can, maybe we can get the internet first of all, so we can know exactly where we want to go, and then from there, we'll send a few other prayers up, and maybe we can make something happen.
Listen to it.
So
What's up with your way, man?
Well, I got a fair foul. Before we move on, man, I'm gonna keep the attention on you for a second. I got a fair foul for all of our podcast listeners and our viewers. So this is a fair foul, and this one's for y'all because I care about all of our listeners and viewers out there. Is it fair or foul that my boy AJ went to Spain and we got 15 downloads of the podcast in Spain, and he didn't even make mention to his podcast listeners that his boy was in town? I'm just saying.
Oh,
because we are. If you guys did not know, we are officially downloaded in 47 countries.
47, which is crazy.
That's mind blowing to me. And to think it has not even been a year since we have started this podcast. It has not been a year. I don't think it'll be a year until September or October. I gotta look back, but yeah. So we got 47 downloads, 47 countries where we're downloaded at, and 15 of those downloads actually come from Spain. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So fair foul. I'm gonna say foul. I'm gonna say, hey, if we blowing up, we need to let our people know where we at. But it's all good, y'all. If I was in Spain, I would let y'all know I was there, so that way we can go ahead and mingle real quick.
Listen to it. So let me defend myself real quick, and I'm gonna let y'all know why it's fair. It was a unplugged trip. Like this was a trip where like the wife and I we needed to go somewhere. We both needed to unplug and just get away. So I'm gonna go fair. Sometimes you need to do that, and I'm refreshed, man. Like I don't know if y'all could tell, but I got energy for days now. Like I'm ready to take on the world. So y'all better watch out. And also, if you are listening to this and you are in another country, I want you to DM me personally and let me know where you are and why you listen, and I'm gonna give you a shout out on my page because like we really love y'all. Like y'all are like amazing.
Hey Billy, what we should do is we should kind of disguise our own page, bro, and send AJ like a DM. So we can get a shout out on his page too.
I'm gonna delete it.
Like I'm here from Nigeria. I'm here from what's the place in Wakanda?
Wakanda forever.
I'm here from Wakanda. My name is.
Hey, what if we would have put up the list and it would have said like we had a couple downloads in Wakanda?
I know, right? Like, tragedy hacked, man. So but everything else has been good here, man. And like I do want to touch on, and personally, I do want to thank you guys for downloading this podcast because it truly means the world to me. It's just truly a testament to what God is doing. I mean, the mere fact that we're downloaded in 47 countries, I mean, that's crazy. It was funny because every time I talk or, I go do a presentation somewhere, I always talk about this podcast, how it's successful and how we're downloaded in over 11 countries. And Billy randomly just sent me the screenshot of where all of our downloads were at. And I was like, 47 countries. I'm like, there's countries on here I can't even pronounce, bro, like Estonia.
Right.
I don't even know, like I don't even know how this works. I don't even know if this is one person. I don't know what that means, but it's still dope. I mean, the Korea Republic we got Russia on here. I ain't messing with no Russia.
Right.
Hey. The Russian Federation,
Oh, man. We love y'all too. We love y'all too. Listen,
so, but yeah, shout out to you guys, man. You guys, it truly means a lot. It truly motivates me to want to get on this podcast week in, week out, come up with new content. And, we said one thing, me and AJ said one thing when we first started, even Billy, that we were going to change the world, and that's what we're doing. So that's evidence 100%. Of that. Moving forward on a more somber note, where we at with the officer down deaths, AJ?
So we are actually, before I tell you where we're at, I want to let you know that I skimmed a couple pages back on my notebook, and we recorded a podcast on May 26th, and we were at 45 line of duty deaths. Today we're coming in at 68.
Wow.
And 28 of those are gunfire. And that just shows you where we're at. As of May, we were at 45, and as of today, which today is...
That's almost 2 months.
July 28th.
That's almost 2 months to the day.
We're at 68.
So, and where were we at? Where were we at on the MA?
We were at 45.
So that's 23 more?
Oh, don't have me lying.
I know, bro.
I can break it out.
I think that's 23. So 68. And you said we were at...
68.
Yeah, that's why we became cops, y'all. So that way because
23.
Engineering was not my criteria when I graduated from college.
Definitely not.
So 23 deaths in 2 months.
23 in 2 months. And I've said it multiple times on here, and I'll continue to say it because I want you to realize like how real this is. We're talking about 23 people's loved ones, like brothers, sisters, cousins, fathers, mothers, you name it. These are 23 lives that were taken away for doing their job. Strictly for going to work and doing their job. Think about that. Like, what other profession, what other profession do you have to worry about aside from the military? I might get killed today at work. Mm-hmm. So much so that before we get this job, we have to be trained on like awareness. They give us a bulletproof vest. You have to be trained on your weapons. Like, really think about that.
So this is what else is crazy about that too is, there are a lot of people that just have a disdain and distaste for law enforcement in general. Some people so much so that they would actually go out of their way to, harm police officers because of this disdain and distaste that they have for law enforcement. And so the unfortunate thing is like, if I go out, if Ryan Tillman just went out, went to go shopping today at the mall, most likely 99.9% of the time I'm gonna get along with everybody I come in contact with. I mean, I'm a personable guy. I'm pretty social. I throw on my hat, throw on my J's, whatever, and I'm gonna go get along with majority of the people, that I come in contact with. But here's the crazy thing is if you took the exact same environment, the exact same situation, and I went out in a police uniform, a majority of those people probably would look at me in some type of funny way because of the uniform that I wear, as opposed to Ryan Tillman. And that's what's scary, man, is like, you have people that want to, hurt us or kill us or do whatever because of a uniform that we wear. You know what I mean? Not because of the person we are, because of the uniform that I wear. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what's crazy. And that's why I think, that's why we started, BBU and It's Needed, because, it's mind-boggling to me that, people have such a disdain just for the uniform. Now, granted, like, I understand, like, there's a lot of history that goes into it and a lot of unfortunate things, but you got to realize that at some point we have to draw a line in the sand. Like, where do we draw that line in the sand? Like, you can't always want to just be a part of this negative stigma. Like, somebody sent me a video. Matter of fact, they tagged both you and I in the video. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you watched it. It was a video that you and I were tagged in today. And it was, the cover photo was a police officer wearing a KKK cover and he was pointing his gun at a black kid that was holding Skittles in his hand. So first of all, the Skittles, if you guys don't know, they said Trayvon Martin had Skittles in his hand. The funny thing to me is Trayvon Martin wasn't even killed at the hands of police officers. He was actually killed at the hands of just another civilian. So and so remember that point, because I want to come back to that. So you have them painting this picture of KKK being dressed up as police officers, and he's pointing a gun at a kid that has Skittles in his hand. Now, if you ask me, that just picture in and of itself already paints a false narrative on so many different levels. So then the video that was behind it was all of these different use of force incidents where police officers are using force on black people, hitting them with batons, tackling them to the ground, kicking them. And granted, I don't know every single one of those situations. I don't know what was involved in it. And then at the end of the video, it has portraits of all these different black people, I'm assuming, that were killed at the hands of police. And I'm only assuming that, but I can't guarantee, and seeing how they put a picture of a black kid holding Skittles in his hand, because that already was part of the false narrative. So who knows, these may just be random black people that they're painting pictures of or putting pictures of. But my point is this, is that I get it. Like, there are certain times that I think that there are racial issues that exist in our country from law enforcement in the community. I agree that that's part of our history, and there are still some things like that going on in this country, but that is not the whole picture. Because if we were gonna post videos of us using force on people in general, you're probably gonna see us use force on more people that are not black than black people. Just if you consider just mere numbers, like. Black people don't make up a large percent of the population. So if you want to show that video because you feel passionate that police use excessive force, well, first and foremost, you should think about just using all law enforcement use of force, because we don't just use force on black people. You know what I mean? And the second thing is, and then go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then not only that, but maybe I'm jumping the gun here because this might be your number two, but also do your homework on the uses of force before you post them.
That's where I was going with. That's what I was going to. Is
I'll let you go ahead then, brother.
Yeah. So the second thing, like you were saying, AJ, is that they're showing videos that we don't even know the whole context to. So if I had to go out of my way and put a guesstimate on this, I would probably assume 90%, if not more, were actually justified uses of forces. But like we've said before, use of force is never pretty. So I don't care what use of force you put on screen, it ain't gonna look pretty. Like, it's just one of the parts of the job that just doesn't look pretty. It is what it is. Right. But to sit here and say that there's all these uses of forces that are just not right and is driven by racism and all this stuff, it's flat out not true. Like, I work in a profession alongside different officers. I've used force on people, whether it be black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. And it was because they were not doing something that they were told to do. And so it just irks me so much when I see this false narrative out there, and all it does is it fuels people to just say, see, this is why I don't like police. This is why I don't like police. This is why I don't like police. And it's based on exactly. It's just based on false narrative. Like, do your research. And the last thing I'm gonna say is, like, and I've said this before, sometimes it feels like it's almost popular to just not like police. And a lot of times people don't even have a firm foundation to stand on to say why they don't like police. Like, I've asked people before, like, tell me why you don't like the police. And then what comes out of their mouth next is like, well, a friend of mine, or, well, I saw this video.
I heard.
It's like, well, have you ever had a bad experience with police? Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, right.
And then if they do say, most 9 out of 10 times they're probably making it up. And so, again, I want you guys to take this as, I'm not saying that there are not some shady police officers that shouldn't be police officers. I get it. They do exist. Don't get me wrong. Right. So that's not what I'm saying. But to say every situation, every use of force that we do is geared behind racism or police brutality is false. And so we have to stop painting this false narrative that all these cops are corrupt and there's so much police brutality when there's really not. There's not as much as we think there is, but it's just popular to go out and say police are corrupt. And, I agree that there's a lot of police brutality. So I'm sorry, man. I'm getting passionate about that. It's making me upset, though.
Nah, you're good, man. And you know what's funny about that, and I know for a fact that you've experienced it, and I don't even think we've really talked about this, is when you do have the opportunity to really connect with somebody, then you become the exception. Like, oh, you're the cool cop. And it's like, nah, like, I'm the cop just like everybody else. You just took the time to listen to what I actually have to say. And I just had a discussion with somebody I look up to so much in my life. And he's like a brother to me. He's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. Like, this dude is just top 5 most intelligent people in the world, right? Like, he's just insane with it. And I had the same exact conversation with him. And he said, AJ, he's like, I want you to think of something. He goes, in order for you to be heard, they have to be willing to listen. And I was just like, okay. I was like, that's deep. And I was like, elaborate on that a little bit more. And he goes, you may be talking to an audience who's so up in arms and so emotionally invested in something that their guard is up and they're not ready to listen to you. And he's like, I'm not sure how to break that guard down yet, but that's just something I want you to think about. And that's something I want you to think about, Ryan, and every other officer out there as well, is you have to understand that, like, some of these issues, like Ryan said, like, some of these issues are valid. And there's a reason to have the guard up, maybe not as high, but there's definitely a reason to have the guard up. And when you're talking to these people, maybe one of their loved ones did get killed by the police, or maybe every time they turn on the TV, they see the police beating up somebody. And I'm not saying it's right. Maybe the cousin did something that resulted in him being killed by the police. And, we know how the TV is sometimes. So you just have to take that into consideration. It's like, we may be trying to talk to a certain group of people who are not ready to listen yet. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's just kind of the situation. The fortunate part about it is we have a podcast that we're able to reach people with. We have social media that we're able to utilize. And then we have our 9-to-5 jobs, like, where we're able to reach people in the community, and you're able to go to the school and reach the kids and go, hey, look, like, I get it. I know your guard is up, but you're going to listen to me. Like, you're going to realize that not all of us is this way, or, what you hear ain't true all the time. And it's not, like, the numbers that you think are right are the complete opposite of what's right. So it's kind of cool, man. Like, I can't help but be fascinated by the whole thing, because it's literally the perfect storm.
Yeah,
it's literally
exactly.
the perfect storm.
And the scary thing is, you hit the nail right on the head, bro. Is like, I'm going to encourage officers out there, is like, you got to understand, for those that legitimately don't like police, there might be some legitimate reasons behind that. And so you also have to be empathetic to understand why they may not like police. And you can't necessarily be so defensive against them, you know what I mean? But when you're trying to do the right thing, because there may be some genuine hurt there, you know what I mean? And so I've seen it before where officers don't freaking care. And that, when they wear that on their sleeves, it's bad. And so the reason I want to bring this point up too is because of this, is that we're living right now, like you said, you called it the perfect storm. And one of the things I've been witnessing, and you've been out of the country, so I don't know if you're, up to speed on some current events, but one of the things that's been going on, I actually did a breakdown on my Instagram, was the throwing water at police officers in New York. That has been going on like crazy. And so, because that's been going on, what you have here is you have a city that there is no trust with anybody. The police, from my understanding, don't have trust in the city staff or whatever, like the mayor, the city manager. I don't know. Like, I heard they don't have trust there. The community doesn't trust the police officers, and then you have police officers that are kind of caught in the middle. And what's even more crazy is what I've firsthand seen is you now got police officers starting to turn on each other because of the lack of trust. And prime example of that is this. So one of my guys on Instagram, his name is Mike, and he's a lieutenant for NYPD. And you probably know him. Yeah. So Mike, I talked about this on the Tillman's Take. Mike did a staged water balloon fight in 2016 with the community. And it was a successful event. The kids loved it. The officers participated. But at the time, you had a few people that scoffed at it, just said, hey, we shouldn't be doing that, and blah, 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 blah. But overall, it was a success. Exactly. But recently, when people start throwing water on cops and throwing buckets at cops and all this other stuff, there was a sergeants association that turned against Mike and said, all of this stuff going on is because of you. You basically made it acceptable for them to think that it's okay to throw water at people. And so the crazy thing to me is that you're now turning on one of your own members of your department because you feel that it's because of him that now people are doing this. No, it's not because of him that people are throwing water on police. It's because people just don't have any respect for law enforcement like they used to. A prime example of that was last week we went on a search warrant and we're banging on this dude's door. And mind you, we have a whole stack of people. It was like 7 of us. We got our guns out. You got, rifles out. We're trying to get into this dude's house. And so there's this lady. She's like off on the side and she's in front of us. And she's like, can I get by? And we're like, hey man, we need you to stay right there for a second. She's like, can I get by? And we're like, we'll just wait. And so she like walks by anyway. She's like, I don't got to listen to you guys. You guys ain't doing nothing. So I'm like, so my point is like, the mere fact that you don't have respect or even understand that we're trying to do something, we're trying to do a job, the mere fact that you're going to be that disrespectful to us is crazy, because you could potentially get hurt here. If somebody comes out this door and we start shooting, who do you think is going to be in the crossfire? And then the sad thing about it is, who do you think is going to come with a lawsuit saying that I should have never got shot? You guys should have never done that. You guys should have told me to get out of the way. So that's my point is like, people just don't have a respect for law enforcement in general. It's not because Mike had a water balloon fight 2 years ago. It's because, and quite frankly, there's a lot of things that encourage that. You do have officers that have done the wrong things. And every time a police officer does the wrong thing with the eyes of the public, it is going to set us years and years back. So I understand that. I recognize that. But then on the flip side of that, you also have people with, large followings, social media influencers that are perpetuating this false narrative. And all it does is fuels a fire that makes people more amped up to say, I don't like police, so now I'm going to rebel against the system. So when I see a police officer, I don't need to respect him, because the majority of the people don't respect you anyway. So there's so much, man, going on, man. And I'm getting passionate about that topic.
So I like this. I like where this is going because the wheels are turning. So I'll ask you this question. And before I ask, I'll say this is I credit a lot, like a very large portion of that issue to social media. With that said, the question is this. Do you think the reason we are the way that we are today, as a society, as far as like people throwing water on police officers and not respecting us, cussing us out, flipping us off, whatever, do you think we are this way because social media is revealing how much corruption and racism is in law enforcement? Or do you think that social media is just pumping so much fake news and like false narratives and whatnot out there, geared towards hating police officers, that people are feeding into it?
Ooh, great question.
Which one do you think is more?
So I honestly think it's a accumulation of both. Here's why.
Yeah, I agree.
There are officers out there that have done the wrong things, been prosecuted, and came out and gone to jail because social media or just video in general reveal the actions of them doing something they shouldn't be doing. And the reason that is so detrimental is because I've talked about it before. As a police officer, we are held to a higher standard. You know what I mean? And so when you see a profession that's supposed to be held to the highest standard doing stuff that criminals do, then now it's hard for somebody to put faith and trust into a profession because they have now lost the respect for that profession, and therefore they don't know who to trust. But on the flip side of that, the amount of times that actually occurs is very slim to none. I wish I had a study, but if nobody's done this study, somebody should do it. But I guarantee you that if you would just do a study in just work in general, no matter what profession it is, I'm sure there would probably be a ratio that, is actually probably far below any other job of corruption at the workplace. You know what I mean? Doing things that you shouldn't be doing, working when you're not working, clocking in when you shouldn't be clocking in, having sex while you're I bet you the corruption level just in general with careers in general, I bet you the number of people that are actually doing things that they shouldn't be doing is a lot higher than what it would be in law enforcement. But because of social media, it's very popular to perpetuate this narrative that police are corrupt. And it gives people a false sense of, a platform to stand on and make it seem like they're doing something. Prime example, it's very easy for people to stand on a soapbox today and say, I'm going to rebel against police. I'm going to stand up against police brutality because it's not right and something needs to be done about it. It's a safe platform to do it because everybody right now, everybody and their mom is all about, hey, I'm all against police brutality. So it's a safe place to go. 2, it's an easy place to go because you can go out and say, police brutality exists and go out 2 seconds later and find a video online that is not going to paint the whole picture. Let's use yours, for example. They can go out there, find your video, not know anything about you, but it looks like a bad police video. So therefore, my statement of what I'm saying is backed by this video captured from Ohio. And so that's the second part is it's easy for them to get false information about whatever platform they want to stand for. And the third thing is that people just want to capture police officers because it sells. It is very easy. It's very fun for a lot of people to get behind. Think about it. If I was the same immature kid when I was younger, when people start busting cameras out around police officers when they're doing their job because everybody's hyping them up, to them that's fun. Like, oh yeah, like we ain't got to do this. Look at me, look at that. So there's so many different factors. So that's why and the last thing I'm gonna say, because I'm on my soapbox right now. The last thing I'm gonna say is this: like, BBU exists to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community. And I'm no fool. We cannot do it without the police officers. Can't do it without the community, and the community can't do it without the police. However, it is a responsibility of police officers to go above and beyond to make sure that we repair these relationships with the community, because the community has no obligation to us to repair that, because we are paid. We are a government entity paid through taxpayer dollars. And I know this is going to ruffle some people's feathers, but at the end of the day, we're public servants. And so that's one of the job requirements and job descriptions that we sign up for when we become a police officer, saying, hey, look, you're here to serve the public. So we have to go above and beyond. And every time we do something that's negative, that's going to damage the reputation of law enforcement, is going to take us a lot further back than the actions of one civilian that's not a police officer.
Yep. And because we're viewed in such a negative light by so many people, the moment that you decide to step up and do something that's so powerful and positive, people are going to magnify, because they're going to go, look at this guy, look at this officer standing up and doing what's right for the first time. So keep that in mind. Don't get frustrated. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't give up. Let's get back on top.
100%. Yeah, my bad. So, that actually is a good segue, because what me and AJ are going to do today is we're actually going to do a Q&A with each other. The goal was, and actually the Savage, I think, has supposed to have some questions for us as well. So before, where are we at on time, Billy? So I know how to manage this. 32. Okay, we good. So first, since AJ asked me a question, I'm going to go back and ask AJ a question. The reason we wanted to do this is because we thought it would be good for you guys to kind of get to know our hearts a little bit more, get to understand us a little bit more. And so, we always talk about other topics and other issues, but, why not just do a Q&A? So first question I have for you, AJ. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so I just recently read an article yesterday, and it was talking about, actually, no, it was a video. It was coming to us out of Seattle, Washington, where there were 3 officers that were at a news. They were recording a news segment for the local news agency out there, and one of the issues was there's a lot of police officers that are leaving the job, retiring at a record numbers that it's hard for them to retain them. And then on the other end of it, it's also hard to recruit police officers into the line of work right now. And so my question to you would be, if you were giving us a recruitment segment right now on the It's Needed podcast, what would you say to the person, or why would you recommend policing to somebody that's on the fence of becoming a police officer?
That's a good question, man. That is a very good question. That's something I think about probably every day of my life. And it's hard because the people that we need, and this is my personal opinion, the people that we need to become police officers aren't fans of police officers. So that's a hard wall to break through. But something that I always go back to is, if you're not part of the solution, then you are part of the problem. Put that badge on, walk in our shoes, change it. And if you put the badge on and you realize, like, man, policing is as corrupt and racist as I thought, then guess what? Now you got the power to change it from within. right? Like there's already people who protest. There's already people who film us. And we got body cameras. Like we got cameras in the cruiser. We got microphone. Like we have like so much to hold us accountable. But that could only do so much. Imagine if you were the chief, or imagine if you got into politics, right? Right? Like imagine if you were a sergeant of a precinct. Imagine if you were a lieutenant of a zone. Imagine how much power you could have, right? So that's my spiel. If you are so up in arms about policing, put the badge on. We have great benefits. We get paid good, and to me, it's one of the most rewarding jobs in the world.
And so
put it on.
And what's funny is what you just said. I'm a living example of that. I was one of those people that thought that policing was corrupt, policing is racist. Yep. There's a lot of internal, stuff that goes on that the public doesn't know about. And think about it. That's why I started BBU, because I recognize that to an extent, a small extent, that some of that may be real, but I saw things completely differently. And not only that, I realized that I could actually make the change, internally from within, so that way I can be the change that I wanted to see. So I think that goes back to that whole thing, like you just said, AJ, like don't be a part of the problem, be a part of the solution. But the issue with that is that there's a lot of people that would like to be a part of the problem, and it's too much work to become a part of the solution. Yes,
for sure, man, for sure. It's almost like dropping your phone in a bonfire and you're mad at the fire, like, man, the fire is like burning my phone, like why is it doing that? And then your solution to that problem is dumping gasoline on it, trying to put the fire out. Like that's not gonna work. Like, stop being part of the problem. Like you driving this division and this negativity into something that's already boiling, like this pot of boiling hatred is only making it worse. Like, why don't you sprinkle a little positivity in there? Or why don't you dive in, right? Like jump in the deep end and go, you know what? I'm gonna save my phone. Boom, got it, right? Like,
so do
it from the inside.
And here's the thing, here's a solution. If I had to give people tips on how to solve some of these problems right now, the first way you could solve it would be stop sharing police videos without knowing the context of that video. Because if you just did that one thing, and even if you truly in your heart believe, like, no, there's corruption in police work and I need to expose this, then do this.
Right.
Stop. The first thing you do is don't share that video. The second thing is go down to your local precinct and say, help me understand this video and what can I do to make this better, because I don't want this to happen. And in a perfect world, that's what would happen. You know what? I'm not going to share the video, because if I share the video, I recognize that there are immature people out there that are not going to be able to go out and do their own research and get context of this video. So therefore, I'm not going to share it. But I still believe and feel passionately about this video. So what I'm going to do is either go down to my local precinct or DM Ryan or AJ and see if they can respond to me and let me know what they think. And to those of you guys that do that, I appreciate it. If I haven't got back to you, sorry about that. I have a lot of requests to do, but I promise you at one point I'll try to get back to it. But that's what you can do. Like, that's the best way to start moving in the right direction and stop being a part of the problem. Like, when you share that video immediately without anything else behind it, you are now a part of the problem. You are not a part of the solution.
For sure.
And if you try to give me the argument and say, well, no, I need to help, expose these bad police officers, guess what? We already have enough exposure because people do it all the time. So your one lack of not putting it out there is not going to go against the exposure that you believe needs to be out there. Sorry about that. So, I'm passionate today.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And if you're going to share it without doing your research, at least share it asking people what happened, and then be willing to listen. Right? Like, if you're posting on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, put the caption, "Hey, I need more information about this," and then give us police officers the opportunity to go, hey, maybe you should consider this, or maybe you should click on this link that shows the full video, or whatever. So do that at least.
I think what makes me so passionate is the fact that this happened to one of my good friends, meaning you. You know what I mean? It's like they tried to do that to you. It didn't stop you, and actually you came back stronger from it. But the mere fact that they would try to blast a video of you out there and try to defame your character based on 30 seconds that happened at a scene, that's what makes me so upset about it. You know what I mean? So, oh man, next question, bro, because you don't get me. I'm about to pull my gun out.
Listen to it. All right, so that was a work related question for me. So I have a work related question for you. So as you know, when you die, you could fade away or you could be remembered for something. Knowing who you are and knowing your drive and your passion, you're definitely going to be remembered for something. My question for you is this, is what do you hope that something is?
Easy. First and foremost, that he was a follower of Jesus Christ and he loved the Lord. Second of all, is that man single-handedly changed the face of modern day policing.
Let's go.
Simple as that.
That's
Two
it.
things.
Point blank, period. I like it.
Because the first one, my love for Jesus Christ, should encompass my love for my family, my wife, my kids, everybody I came in contact with. But when all that else is said and done, and it's funny you asked that question, because I just told Billy today, I said, one of the things you guys I'm always going to end with, or if anybody asks me, you know, what I stand for or what I want to be known for, I'm going to change the face single-handedly of modern day policing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, that's why this is a dangerous combination. Literally my exact same answer, man. 1 and 2. Literally 1 and 2, man.
It's funny,
like
man.
One, they're going to be like, yeah, like he was a follower. He was a believer. Like he lived his life the right way. And then 2, they're going to be like, he was a real one.
Yep.
Hey, he was a real one.
Yep.
If he said he was going to do something, he was going to do it. And he did it to the best of his ability. And he changed the game.
Exactly.
He changed the game.
Exactly,
So,
bro.
Yeah, good answer,
that's fire.
Man. Good answer.
So Billy just sent us a question. Is this all one question, Billy, or 3? Oh, see, Billy over here getting all philosophical and stuff. He's like, Plato once wrote in 1815.
Can Billy ask us the question and can they hear it?
Yeah.
So Epstein is the recent guy who got caught for sex trafficking, child pornography, all types of crazy stuff, and he's only looking at 45 years, which sounds like a long time, but it's not long enough. So, and then people might be looking at life in prison for a kilo of cocaine, gang murders. So do you think the sentencing system is flawed? And what about sentencing versus violent versus sexual versus drug crimes, all that kind of stuff?
I'll let you go first, AJ.
Yeah, that's Billy. Killed it first off.
Billy over here, I'm telling you, he's like, the great philosopher Plato wrote in 1623.
In 1846, there was a feather. So the first part of your question is yes, I do think it's extremely flawed. I have personally seen the same person who's a convicted felon get caught with a loaded gun 5 times in 2 months. How does that happen?
That's crazy.
How does that happen? The system is flawed. But then I've seen people who have committed crimes that are nowhere near, at least in my opinion, as heinous, as far as like possession of drugs or something like that, and they get sentenced years within months. They get sentenced years. I'm like, man, this is crazy. But something that I'm not sure about. How old is this guy, Billy? Do you know?
50s.
He's in his 50s.
He's in his 50s?
Yes.
So he'll be what, 95 by the time he gets out?
He'd probably die in prison.
Yeah. So sometimes, and this is just something that I've seen here in Central Ohio, is sometimes they'll give you a sentence long enough to where they're like, yeah, you're probably just going to die in prison. So we'll give him 45 years. But in my opinion, they should be like, oh, you did all of that? 1,000 years.
Duh, hey, I kid you not.
That way people...
I kid you not, bro. I just saw the other day. I didn't even know this was possible, bro. So y'all gonna laugh at me. Y'all go do some research. They gave somebody life plus 30 years. I'm like, wait, that don't make no sense to me. So my man gonna die plus another 35 years after his death.
Yeah. And then before your soul is released, we holding that too.
we get another 35 years. I'm like, wow.
30 more years, yeah.
So to answer that question, bro, it's funny. AJ's response was the exact same as mine. The system is very much flawed, but this is what's so upsetting though. And I'm gonna go back to police again, because this is a police podcast. We end up being the doormats to the lack of sentencing or over sentencing for people that have either committed crimes or haven't committed crimes. People blame the police as if I'm the one that put that dude in there for, 100 years, or I'm the one that didn't put that person in there for 5 years. They look at police officers as being the people that did that. Now, are we in a sense part of the system? The very entry level. But this is one thing I don't think people realize, and there's probably some attorneys that watch this, and you know, if I'm wrong, then reach out to me. But what I have seen, you got to realize is that for example, if I were to arrest somebody today, when I arrest them, the first step after that is once I submit my report, that goes to the district attorney. The district attorney is then going to decide whether or not they want to move this case forward, or they're going to say, we're going to drop this case. A lot of times when they drop the case, it's because they don't have enough evidence to convict them, or B, we did something that was outside of the confines of the law or scope of the law. So, you know, i.e. we violated the probable cause, you know, or the search and seizure, you know, section, and therefore we cannot use the evidence you got to convict this person, so therefore it gets thrown out. That's the first thing. If they want to move it forward, then what they do is they now move into, okay, now we're gonna push this forward, and now we're gonna they go through pretrial, then trial, and all this other stuff. But the one thing you got to realize is that when you have attorneys that are looking at cases, just like anything else, and I hate to say this, but they're looking at their win versus loss record. When they push cases forward, they want to know, am I going to be able to win this case? If they cannot win this case, then they will either A, say, hey, I'm not taking it, you know, because I think I'm going to lose, or B, they're going to, in their mind, going to say, they're going to try to lobby and see if we can get reduced sentencing, if somebody can take a plea deal so it doesn't have to go to court. Now, granted, if every single case went to court, then we would exhaust so many different, you know, all these different funds and money and blah, 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 blah. We wouldn't have enough time to do that. So I get it. You know, certain things we can just try to see if we can take a plea deal, you know, meaning give you like, you know, take a deal. But at the same time, I've seen it, man. Like I'll go there and they're like, man, like they want to win and lose. And so for the sake of winning and losing, they will, you know, plea, you know, if somebody murdered somebody and they don't got to go to trial and they ask the guy, hey man, will you take 15 years instead of 50 years? They'll say, hey, we'll take the 15 years because they don't want to have to fight it and forth. So, I mean, am I wrong in saying that, AJ, or, you know, or do you have any other insight to that?
No, you're not wrong. I'll tell you what I'm thinking right now, man. It's literally been running through my head. Like as soon as you ask this question is there needs, and this is tricky, like even saying that, but just speaking from experience, I feel like there needs to be like a line in the sand. If you commit this crime, this will be what you are sentenced. And here's the reason I say that. And Ryan, I want you to touch on this because I'm not sure how you're going to feel about it. Is there are countries to where if you get caught stealing, they chop your hand off. Guess what you don't see in those countries? Someone who stole twice. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a couple people that's missing a hand. You are not going to see somebody that got both of their hands chopped off because they got caught stealing twice. Now, I'm not saying it has to be that severe, but people in that country know there's a line in the sand. If you get caught stealing, this is what's going to happen. And I feel like here, at least from what I've seen, there's no real line. And if there is a line, it tends to be on the criminal side at times, right? So like if you know somebody who got caught with a gun 5 different times within 2 months, who was already a convicted felon, who already had a horrible rap sheet, then in your mind, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to carry this gun. If I get caught, I'm going to be out in 2 days. Like, bet, right? And then what happens? You get into a fight, you lose, you pull a gun out, you kill somebody, right? Or you're showing your friend, it goes off, you shoot somebody in the stomach. To where if you knew for sure, like, hey, if you get caught with this gun, you're doing 5 years, 10 years. You're going to be like, man, get that gun away from me. Mm-hmm. Get that gun away from me. Even for me growing up in the hood, like, it was nothing for me to be around people who had guns illegally and to be submerged in conversations with people who were carrying guns and what they thought. And growing up, it was a lie back then, but it was something that was believed, is if you get caught with a gun that has a shaved off serial number, you doing big boy time. So guess what happened? When a gun with a serial number came, with a gun with a shaved off serial number came around, people didn't want nothing to do with it. The biggest, baddest gangbangers were like, nah, don't bring that here, man. Mm-hmm. I don't want my DNA nowhere on that. Because they, at least for them, they thought there was like a hard line in the sand, right? Like, all right, look, that's the line, we're not going to cross it. And I feel like in today's society, that line is getting thinner and thinner and thinner and easier to cross and then recross over without any repercussions.
Bro, so I was at the local donut shop, and don't make fun of me, y'all, because I was at the local donut shop on duty. I wasn't getting a donut though; I got a breakfast sandwich. But as I was there, I was actually talking to the guy that works here, and he's from another country. He's from a foreign country, and he was telling me, because he was asking me, you know, how's crime and all this other stuff, and he was saying, bro, the exact same thing you said. In his country, if you steal, they cut your hand off. And my point, and so just like what you were saying is like, I'm not necessarily saying we need to cut people's hands off. But what happens when you're not afraid to, you know, of any consequences? Like when you're sincerely not afraid of the consequences that come. Think about kids. Like if my kids aren't afraid that they're going to get in trouble, they're going to keep doing it. Now, I'm not saying my kids need to live in fear of, you know, doing what they want to do and stuff, but there's a balance. And so same thing when it comes to, you know, violating, you know, criminal law is like, when you violate certain laws and you know you're not going to get punished for it, like there's nothing to stop you from doing it again. And that's what we keep saying we want to decriminalize this and decriminalize that. Well, where does it stop? Because if we can decriminalize this, then I can decriminalize that. You know what I mean? Like there was something recently where they were talking about decriminalizing pedophilia. And I'm like, how is that? Like, where are we at as a country to where our moral, but you know what? It goes back to this. In California, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, they passed a proposition that lowered the criminal offenses for certain crimes. Now, granted, you know, you have two sides of the spectrum. I do believe that, you know, in the mid 90s there was this this war on drugs that was in large part a part of the problem that we have today, where you have people getting sentenced, you know, to life in prison for carrying drugs. Do I think that crime matches the punishment? No, I don't think so. And so what happened was you had all these people that were living in prisons, or not living in prison, all these people that were locked up in prison for these small offenses. And so what ended up happening was, as when we started evolving throughout time, we had to figure out, okay, some of these people maybe shouldn't be locked up in there. But what we ended up doing was, as opposed to just, you know, looking at those individually, we just said, you know what? Not only are we going to start letting the people out that are locked up for stuff that shouldn't be that harsh, but we're also going to lower the laws for you know possession of cocaine, possession of methamphetamine, all other stuff. You just created a whole nother animal. And so when I remember that 4 or 5 years ago, when they lowered the punishment, they lowered, you know, possession of methamphetamine or any controlled substance down to a misdemeanor. Bro, that's a citation, that's a ticket. And so when you go down there, not only are you crazy, you get booked for like 2 hours and then you're out. But one thing people don't realize is that when drugs are at the front of it, or at the forefront, there's a lot of other crimes that follow suit. So I was just talking to my friend this morning. He was telling me, because he works at a jail right now, and he's had a lot of the more violent offenders come in. And he was saying, you know what's weird, Ryan? He was like, a lot of these people that have killed people, some of them killed officers recently. He was like, it's funny, bro, like they have the most calmest demeanors. Like if you were to just talk to these people like outside of jail, you would think like they were the coolest people. He was like, it's not what you think. It's not like these guys are tatted up and, you know, gang banging and all this other stuff. He was like, these people are the most calmest people. But the one thing that I do know is that when they committed the offense that they were in there for, there were some type of drugs that were involved in it. So my point in saying that is, by making drug laws so, you know, petty, it allows people to do other serious offenses because they're under the influences of the drugs that are now making their crimes more violent. And so we have to really reconsider, you know, and so my point is that when propositions come out, when laws come out, when voting for presidents come out, really do your research on the issues, on the topics. Again, people vote based on popularity. They don't even know what they vote for. They vote based on popularity. You know, like if this person sounds good, this person looks good, so I'm gonna vote on that person. Or, you know, it sounds nice. Yeah, if we decriminalize people, then we can put them into a rehabilitation center, then they can get help. It sounds nice on paper, but when you don't do your research, you're more inclined to vote on something that later on, 5 years later, you're gonna say, I didn't want that. And so it's funny because I have people that tell
And
me
then
all
it's
the time,
too
like,
late.
I didn't want this. And it's like, well, you voted for it a few years ago.
Yeah, it's too late. The damage is done. The creature has been created. Like at that point, it's rolling. It's rolling downhill, and it's collecting debris and shrapnel and speed.
Man, so
Yeah.
I got off topic.
All
So
right,
let me ask you a question. Because so we back to you. Because
So personal question.
This is personal.
So, yeah, all right, so-
This is personal. It's kind of work related, kind of not.
Okay.
I told you I was gonna get deep, but what have you learned from the most recent situation that you were involved in, as far as the public backlash on that video of use of force that you have? Like, because bro, I know you've been going through, and that's why. And so, you know, at the beginning of this podcast, I made the joke that, you know, AJ didn't shout out his people in Spain, but no, my brother needed a getaway, and so. You know,
For sure.
what have you learned, man? What has God revealed to you? And if there's any takeaway from this, you know, what would that be?
Man, a lot. Let me. So the first thing that it really told me is this road isn't going to be easy. It's something I preach all the time. It's something I live my life by. But that was a reminder, right? Like when my pastor pulled me aside, and I said this on an earlier podcast, and he told me, he said, AJ, you could always find where God is doing the most work, because that's where you'll find the devil at work as well. Like that struck a nerve with me, and I was just like, okay, like I get it now. And you never know how close you are to a breakthrough, right? Like if I was to give up now, I'll never know how close I was to changing the game, right? Like to be in that legend that people will always talk about. For what? A bump in the road? Come on. The second thing that it taught me is how much support I actually have. I had people I've never talked to in my community stop me, call my phone, tell other officers that they support me. And it's because people here where I work, the area surrounding where I work, they know what I do. They know what I do when the camera's off. They know how passionate I am. They know why I do what I do. So therefore, they support me because of that. They know that I'm doing it for the right reasons. A lot of the backlash and the negativity was coming from the outside in. And I feel like that happens a lot, right? So like take policing as a whole. I'm loved in my community. Ryan, you're loved where you work. We're not the exceptions. A lot of police officers that I work with are loved in their community. Like people stop them all the time. They buy us lunch. They buy us dinner. They honk at us. They wave. People scream at us. We support you. It's the people from the outside looking in who want to destroy a good thing, right? Sometimes that works. Sometimes it chips away slowly. Sometimes it just makes the inside stronger. And that's what it did in my case. It made me realize, like, okay, I got to step this up. I gotta magnify this. So it really threw gasoline on the fire. And then the third thing that it taught me was time is fragile. Time is so fragile. And you have to take hold of every single second of your life, and every single second and opportunity you have to make that change, or whatever your passion is, right? Like if you want to be the best baker in the world, you should be spending every single second of your life dedicating yourself to that. Like, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try this recipe. Boom, 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 boom. That way, when something happens, you're like, oh, that ain't nothing. I'm so focused where I'm at right now. So I would say those are the three things, man. I took away a lot from it, but I'll tell you what I took away the most, and that's the motivation. That's motivation. I'm ready. I'm ready to go, man. Like I'm ready to go. We went to Spain. We unplugged. My wife and I, we enjoyed each other's time and company. We spent some time in prayer in the prayer room at that church. And yeah, I'm ready. Like, look, y'all, if y'all thought we was doing it before, if y'all thought we was in some countries before, just listen. Hey, August 1st is the beginning. August.
Hey, and if you guys don't know what August 1st is that It's Needed conference, and when I tell you it's about to go down, it's about to go down. So, you know, I honestly, I would like to tell you guys to go buy tickets, but I don't even know if we can. Seriously, I don't even know if we would be able to support it. Like because we've hit our
but
limit.
try.
We've hit our
but try.
max.
Get on
We've
there
hit
and
our
try,
max.
yo.
We've hit our max, and this is a serious statement. Like we've actually hit our max. And the reason I say that, I don't know if we'll be able to support you, because if you want a ticket now, it's gonna cost me more money. So
right.
So yeah, man, that's powerful. Go ahead, Belly. Go ahead, AJ.
So this is my question. Yeah, that was a good question, by the way, man. So this is my personal question for you, and it's this: what is something that you consistently struggle with in life, and how do you deal with it? Like there has to be something that like rears its head, and you're like, oh, again. And how do you deal with it?
That's a really good one, and I'm actually been doing a personality assessment on myself because I want to start getting other people certified in learning and discovering their personality. You know, honestly, for me, man, I think it would be, man, what was the question again? Like if
what is something that you just consistently struggle with, like something that pops its head up all throughout your life, whether it's the naysayers or whether it's a family issue, whatever it is, that you're just like, oh man, here it is again.
You know, honestly, it's not even the naysayers, it's not even the haters anymore, bro. It's just, and I've been guilty because I'm human. I'm definitely guilty of it. But I think the difference between me and some other people is like, with what I'm about to say, is that I think because of my relationship with God, he kind of keeps me in check, even when it comes to my wife. And so I think the difficulty for me, man, is like when you just can't, when I look at people and they just have no kindness to them at all, bro. And it sounds so simple. You know, when I just see people act rude to people, or just, you know, perpetuate stuff, or just, you know, and again, I'm guilty of it because I've done. Like I said, I don't want to sit here and make it seem like I'm on some pedestal, but the times that I've done it, man, God really convicts me. Like, you know, you don't need to be doing that, or you don't need to be judging this person. And it's just, I honestly, man, I'm crazy enough to think that the world's problems can be solved with just having kindness towards the other person. And so one of the things I struggle with is understanding why people can't just genuinely, out of the kindness of their heart, be cool to people. And when we just constantly, and you know what it is, and what it comes down to is because we're so infatuated with numero uno, myself. You know, it's that pride, and it's that pride and selfishness. I read something, man. It actually convicted me the other night. Let me see if I screenshotted it. It was crazy, bro. And this is personal to me. So I do devotions every night when I wake up in the morning and stuff like that. And this one, I read this literally. I read it last night. And now my phone want to act up. Now I want to be. It's that bootleg, you know, bootleg service I got, dog. All right, here it is, right here. So. The first line of this I got that Boost Mobile, bro. Sorry if you use Boost Mobile.
Look at him.
So the first line of this devotion just struck me, bro. It said, sometimes I don't feel like being nice to my wife and kids. I don't feel like doing the unselfish thing. I want to just lie on the couch and watch TV. I don't want to do one more thing today. I don't want to handle another problem, but just because I don't feel like it doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. And bro, like that just kind of struck a nerve with me, because I was like, man, like there are times where my kids will be like, hey, you know, can we do this? Can we go outside? Can we throw this? And bro, like it said, bro, that first statement was not lying, bro. There's times I just want to sit on the couch and I don't want to answer no other problems. I don't want to solve no other problems. But when that last line says, but just because I don't feel like it doesn't mean I shouldn't do it, it just went so far with me. And I think if we lived by that in society, we will live in a different place. There are certain things that we want to say that we shouldn't say to people. And I'm all about, you know, being transparent with people. But if we want to keep it 100, the time to be transparent with people is not when you're very upset about it or emotional about it. Because when you start keeping it real with people and you're still pissed off about it, it's not going to come off as being genuine. It's not going to be coming off as loving. And so, you know, the follow-up to that was this. It says, this will really shock you. Sometimes I don't feel like praying or reading my Bible, but I do it. I found that if the only time I pray is when I feel like it, the devil makes sure I never feel like it. If the only time I read my Bible is when I feel like it, the devil makes sure I never feel like it. Maturity is when you live your life by your commitments, not by your feelings. And so to answer that question, bro, I know I got long-winded, but one of the things that just my problem, my struggle with is I think that things are more simplistic, and in actuality, I still think they're simplistic, but it hurts me, man, when myself included, we're not kind when we should be. We're not loving when we should be. We're not respectful when we should be. That lady that was all disrespectful, you know, when we were serving that search warrant, was like, I don't need to listen to you. I'm like, it would have been so easy for you to just say, okay, I'll wait. You know, or when I see, you know, police officers out there, you know, giving somebody attitude for no apparent reason, when if you could just say, hey, how you doing? We can just improve that one situation.
Go so much further. So much further.
Man. So I think that's what I struggle with, is just over analyzing every situation. I think I over analyze things too much. And so I know it took me a long time to get to that that one simplistic answer.
No, that was good.
But
man.
I just overanalyze everything too much.
That was real good. So, what do you think about this? How about at the end of every podcast we leave them with like a final thought? Like you have a final thought, and I have a final thought. We've done it in the past a little bit, like here and there. But how about from this point on, no matter what the topic of the podcast is, no matter if we have a special guest, no matter what.
I love that.
We individually leave the world with our final thoughts.
Perfect. So we got a Tillman's final thought and Johnson's final thought. I like it.
I like it. So
go ahead. What's your final thought?
So my final thought is this: today is Sunday. I was sitting in church, and it was one of those sermons where like the pastor is preaching directly at me, right? Like in a church full of people, the pastor is like looking at me like, AJ, this is for you. And he said something. He said, sometimes your worst nightmare is exactly what needs to happen to you. Sometimes your worst nightmare is exactly what needs to happen to you. And I was just like, man, I needed to hear that. So for everybody out there, I need you to think this. Sometimes you need to slip and fall flat on your face and hit rock bottom, just so you know how firm of a foundation it is down there. Or just so you know who your real friends are, who your real family is, who's going to be there to help you, who's not going to be there to help you. So weather the storm, because after that storm might be your biggest reward yet. So that's it. Sometimes your worst nightmare is exactly what you need.
That's deep. That's so deep. Woo, that's nice. I'm gonna put that. Hey, Billy, make sure we quote that and put Ryan Tillman behind that. Oh, we can get that trademark, bro.
I'm telling my pastor.
Oh man. So I guess my final thought would be this. We spoke about it briefly earlier, you know, and I've said this before on the podcast. Right now, we have a lot of police officers that think that right now is the worst time to be a police officer. We have people out there that just don't like police officers and could never even picture themselves being a police officer. So I'm going to speak to both of you guys individually. For police officers out there, this is the best time to be a police officer. For 1 second, I need you to stop thinking about the glass half empty and think about it half full. Or like my boy Jorge say, just be glad to have a glass. Right now, this is the best time to be a police officer because we are at the forefront of changing modern day policing. Things in every situation, no matter what career field, no matter what profession, can always get better. There is no such thing as an organization staying stagnant and moving forward. As police officers, we have to recognize that there is room for improvement and we have to improve. So stop griping about the improvement that needs to occur and just get on board with that. But at the same time, know that people care about you. I care about you. It's people like us that are going to support you no matter how we can, all the way on up the chain of command, and recognize that, hey, look, we have an important job to do and we need your support. There's places right now like the NYPD where the officers do not feel like they have their city's support. And I understand how that can be frustrating. I understand how it can feel like it ties your hands. And on an even more serious note, I understand why some police officers are taking their lives. Just recently, I believe there have been 4 officers that committed suicide in the last 3 months in the city of New York. That means there's an issue. And the issue is not just with law enforcement. The issue is deeper than that. And so you need support. You need support from your brothers, your sisters, not just in law enforcement, but in this world. And so like I said a few minutes ago, we have to lead with kindness. And so just remember, as a police officer, this is the best time to be a police officer. So the moment you recognize that will be the moment that you realize that you have it within your power to make this profession different. And like I always say, change the face of modern day policing. The second thing is for those people out there that never can imagine themselves being a police officer. In fact, the ones out there that just don't like police officers, just have a disdain trust for police officers, I encourage you, if you don't have a career right now, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, go down to your local police department, find or ask to talk to a police officer and say, hey, I want more information about this job. Now, I'm not talking to those that may have a slight record, because if you've been around the block and all, unfortunately, we can't make that happen. But if you have a clean record semi-clean, and you don't have anything going on, really get some information about becoming a police officer. Because like AJ said before, a lot of the times the people that we need in this profession are not the ones that want to become police officers. And I've said this before, is the best police officers are the ones that don't even know they want to be a police officer yet. So if I had any words of the day or closing thoughts, man, that would be my closing thoughts. The best time to be a police officer is today. And those of you that don't know you want to be a police officer yet, we're waiting for you. We got you. So
killed it. I like it.
Hey, man,
let's go. And August 1st is going down.
Hey, so
I'm gonna be in Cali with my boy Ryan.
I can't believe that August 1st is on Thursday. Like, we've been talking about this conference for almost a year now. And I remember it started, man, I was on the freeway and I literally just conversing with God, and God was like, hey, I want you to throw a conference. If I can't tell y'all that my faith has improved these last few months, oh boy, like the people that are close to me know. But man, oh man, the mere fact that we are throwing a conference where we got chiefs of police, city managers, superintendents, former convicts, seniors in high school, all going to be at this conference to change the world. We got Eric Thomas going to be there. We got Gordon Graham's going to be there. And the mere fact that it's going down on Thursday and we already got a guest list, and it's hard, like if you still want to come, the mere fact that I might have to turn you away because I just can't accommodate it, that's nothing but a blessing, and it's nothing but proof that God is real. And when God wants something to go through, there's nothing that will stop it, man. So I'm looking forward to it. AJ will be, you coming out here on Wednesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Wednesday night.
Yes, sir.
AJ will be out here Wednesday night. My man Jorge will be coming out Wednesday night. And we got a special treat for you guys. So, if you guys like this podcast, we got a special treat for those that like this podcast. So be ready. This podcast has been brought to you by the one and only Breaking Barriers United. So thanks to my team like Billy. Thanks to AJ. If you are a part of the BBU crew, thank you. You guys know who you are. My wife, she's been doing some phenomenal. That girl, oh my goodness, bro.
Bruh,
she is a beast, certified. Like,
yeah, certified. Put a stamp on it.
There are companies that should be paying her $1 million to do what she do. I can't afford that yet, so I might actually lose my wife.
You are not lying.
But she is a beast. Stephen Hollowell, whoever has been, you guys know who you guys are. You guys have been doing some stuff for us. I appreciate your guys' support, because without you guys, we'd be nothing. So without anything else, I don't think I have anything else. You got anything else, AJ? Bet.
I don't, brother. It was a good one.
Hey, shout out to all of our followers in all 47 countries. I don't even know how y'all do they translate? How does that happen, Billy? Is it just, I don't know, bro. I don't know. But shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all for listening to it. So,
hey, share this podcast, please. Share this podcast. Like, this message needs to get out. If you like what we're doing, if you agree, share it. Even if you don't agree, share it to get people talking. Like, This is the discussion that needs to happen. It's needed for a reason. Share it.
And 5 stars. If you don't give us 5 stars, I'm a little salty, but I'm still salty about the man that gave me 4 stars because I talk about my face. But, that story for a different day. Fear or foul. Yeah. But anyways, my bad. Hey, y'all, we love y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.